devotional activities one day. He says, this is his personal experience. He's not making up some pretty song. He says, one day while I was performing devotional activities in my home, I saw my home transformed into the spiritual world. So actually, when one becomes so pure, that vision will manifest itself. Then you'll be able to be compassionate and kind to all of the entities. You'll see everyone as simply on the basis of this temporary happiness, where there's no more feelings of duality. You'll be able to be completely peaceful and Krishna conscious and happy. And you'll be able to give that to other people as well. But this is very important now, that each one of you take more and more seriously. Don't think that I've attained a certain level and I don't want to go beyond that. It's not like, Krishna consciousness is not like that. It's like quicksand. Once you get in there, it goes, you can only get deeper and deeper. You can't come out of it. Prabhupada said, one time chanting Hare Krishna, you're caught. Krishna will never let you go now. So, rather than resisting Krishna, let us run faster towards Krishna. A devotee is so attractive that Krishna will send you more people. He'll give you the facilities to make your life Krishna conscious and others' lives Krishna conscious also. So we want to make Krishna give us these facilities. We want to make everything very auspicious for Krishna's appearance. Just like when Lord Jagannath comes during the Ratha Yatra, Lord Chaitanya is described that he cleanses the temple, waiting for Lord Jagannath to come there, cleanses it and beautifies it in so many ways. So you make your home like that. Cleanse your home very nicely, beautify it so nicely, so that Krishna will want to come there and never leave. And do the same with your heart. So what is the process? Chaito Darpana Majanam, chanting Param Vijayate, Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, chanting the glories of the Lord. This will purify your heart. Everyone should chant japa nicely, have kirtan with your family members. That'll change the whole atmosphere of your homes. See? And do this Sankirtan also. Sometimes during the week, go out and chant. I've told you now, once a week, sometime. You should take whatever ladies or men are available, and you go out to this campus, very good campus, we've seen it, and put on a kirtan, and distribute cards advertising the day magazines once a week. Supposing between all of you, every week, you distribute a case of magazines, 200. You imagine what the results will be? It'll be fantastic. Here's a practical way that you can engage in preaching. I know many devotees, Prabhupada once told us to do this in the beginning. He said even the married men who have jobs, they should all carry with them some literature, and on the way back home from work they should distribute it. This was in New York, where everybody's going to train, the subways. So Prabhupada said you should all distribute it on the way home, so by the time you get home you have no more books left. And this way you'll stay engaged in Krishna's service even while traveling to and from work. So in a car it may be more difficult. But the idea is there that we should preach also. Not only that we should think of ourselves. Krishna becomes more pleased when you think of others and how to make them Krishna conscious than when you only think of yourself. You'll get even more mercy when you do that. Just like you're finding immediately by trying to help your parents, you're also benedicting yourself. You do good for them and you do good for yourself. The same is true. The more you help your children, the more you feel love for Krishna. So, in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world, forever free. Once you attain to Krishna consciousness, once you attain Krishna, there's no question ever again of becoming contaminated. This is permanent gain. Whatever you do in the service of Krishna is your permanent gain. It'll never be lost to you. And of course you connect by studying these books, because whatever I've said, I simply try to present what I have understood from my spiritual master. So all of these ways, the spiritual master, he can always understand the mind of his disciples and devotees. So there's always a connection. And it's said by Prabhupada that when the father goes away, then the grandfather takes charge. So the spiritual master is like a father. So when he goes elsewhere, then the grandfather takes charge. And he's more kind to his grandchildren. The grandfather, as you know, is always very overly affectionate. So you're all very lucky to have Srila Prabhupada as your grandfather. So you won't be in any way lacking. In any way. But you can write me there. Where's your wife?
She's taking care of the children.
So they can come in during our questions and answers.
Okay.
Your wife also can come.
Who can we go to get information, get instruction about teaching our children about proper sexual behavior?
Your children personally are very young. Is there still need to instruct them at this point?
Sometimes I think so.
So, I think you can figure out what to tell them. One is to be truthful to them, but it's a difficult. They're very intelligent. Just be honest with them. I don't think there's any secrets or any special way. I don't think so. I think you can be very... So we're not so different from these children. Everybody is ignorant. Unfortunately, we've grown for 25 years, 30 years, and we're as ignorant practically as the children are. Isn't that a fact, more or less? So, as you're being instructed, you can instruct them. And they'll understand as much as they do. And gradually, by your instruction, they'll understand everything. But you can always ask one person to write, are you getting this Gurukul newsletter? Oh, there's a nice newsletter you can all subscribe to, or one of you can subscribe if you don't want each individually. Gurukula newsletter.
Is that out of New York?
Gita Nagar.
So that's a good newsletter. It comes out once every month.
Yes, printed in New York. You can write the Minister of Education. Care of Gita Nagar, but the newsletter comes out of
Care of Gita Nagari.
All right.
And if you have any question about education, you can also write him.
I know him.
You know him, so there's no problem. You can write him, or you can get his address from Jivanara, his name, and write him Care of Gita Nagari. But generally, the process of educating the children is very much the same. In terms of what you should educate them, it's very similar to what we're being educated with. The absolute truth, just presented in such an easy form that they can understand. Another question? You can go on asking some questions if you have them.
When we return, Maharaj?
Whenever you would call me. Again.
It might be pretty soon.
So I'll come soon. I have no objection. I like being with you. Yes?
I think maybe it'd be good if you could come back in
3 weeks?
3 weeks.
No, but we should understand also that service and separation is better. The gopis and Lord Chaitanya, they preferred to serve in separation. That is considered to be more intense feelings than serving when meeting. Just like a woman, a wife loves her husband. So her love is manifested while he's there. But when he's not there, she's seeing him at every moment. She sees her shoes and immediately she thinks of him. Otherwise, when the husband is there, she takes the shoes for granted. But when he's not there, the shoes remind, everything is making her heart strings pull, reminding her. So this remembrance is a wonderful way of deepening one's attraction and affection for Krishna and for the devotee. So you'll find actually that it's painful in the most wonderfully pleasing way to serve in separation. But you can be sure of one thing. Krishna and the spiritual master, they are always with you eternally, and they never leave you. There's no way you can ever lose Krishna and it is a connection on a purely spiritual, from the soul platform. But that service and separation is very sublime. Another question?
We can worship your picture?
Yeah? Why not? The picture is non-different. Picture, there are different types of deities, and one is in the form of painting, picture. Sand, there's different metal, wood, different ways. You can offer every day Guru Puja, Tulsi Puja, Guru Puja, Krishna Puja. Worship of the Guru is essential in spiritual life. In fact, everything you offer has to be offered to Krishna through the spiritual master. Through the spiritual master, then his spiritual master, Guru and Param Guru, and then through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Pancha Tattva, and then to Krishna, Radha and Krishna. Never direct. Always approach Krishna through your spiritual master. Because we do not find ourselves very qualified to approach Krishna. But we feel our spiritual master, he's qualified. So we approach him, Krishna, through our spiritual master. I don't claim, just like Prabhupada said, I don't claim to know Krishna. I simply know my Guru Maharaj. But one who knows his spiritual master, he knows everything. So we should simply keep that connection very strong. Then automatically our connection is fixed up with the whole Parampara and with ultimately Krishna. So Guru Puja is required.
There was some discussion about schooling our children.
I feel very bad to see the children having to go to these Karmi schools. I was talking with Sachi Mata, and she has to suffer so much. It makes me very sorry to see that she has to suffer the association of all those, because those children, they have no idea of spiritual life. Just like during the recess, they all start to play, and she knows this is simply nonsense, so she sits down and wants to chant. It's horrible. We should not punish our children like that. As far as possible, try to arrange something where all the children can be taught away from that association. That I leave to you, how you have to all arrange, but somehow help each other. You're not a very big community now, but the sooner you feel and act like a community, the better off you'll all be. Individually, you all have heavy responsibilities, but maybe if you pool your collective assets, I don't mean to say your money like that, but I mean to say your collective time or ability, you can find some way to help each other. Just like now someone may be helping someone else more, but don't worry, that same person will help you more later on. You're not the loser in Krishna consciousness when you help someone. I see. In fact, that's the mood of the devotee. We call each other Prabhu, Master. So you're always trying to serve the other devotees. Vaishnava Seva. This is considered to be the highest of all things. Better than serving Krishna is to serve the devotee of Krishna. And the devotee, he's always trying to not have to take service from another devotee. There's a big competition going on. Please allow me to serve you. No, I'll serve you. No, I'll serve you. There's a big competition going on. So you're only the gainer when you serve your god brothers or god sisters. So the faster you can arrange this, the happier your children will be and all of you will be.
For the time being, we can educate our children about this correspondence course.
Yes, very good.
And mix in our own Krishna consciousness with it.
Very nice. Your children are all very intelligent, every one of them. That's a good proposal if you can do it. And I've seen Burjan, he trains up different age groups in the same classroom. It can be done. In the old days, they used to have the little schoolhouse. A whole community would have one schoolhouse, even in America. All different age groups. And one teacher was taking care of all of them. It can be done. The older children help the younger children. Sachimata can help.
She's good with younger children.
Yeah, she can teach everybody. And she can also be taught more. But basically, real education is to teach someone about Krishna consciousness. You should always remember that. That whatever you're doing, the ultimate issue should be how to connect back with Krishna. Just like Lord Chaitanya, when he was teaching, he was a teacher. So he taught in such a way that even when he was teaching grammar and vocabulary, all the words were being used connecting with Krishna. So at the same time that the students were learning their mundane things, they were also learning how it relates. That is the problem with this big Western education. There's no relationship with God, and therefore people come out completely lost, spiritually speaking. They're bewildered and unhappy, even despite their PhD degrees. Another question?
Is it proper to ask the Guru in prayer to help you get through your weaknesses if you have not asked the Guru to accept you as a disciple?
Oh yes. He's already accepted you. Now it's simply a question of formality. When you begin to serve the spiritual master, he's already accepted you. He's accepting that service. Now it's a question of formalizing the relationship. Just like when you chant Hare Krishna, even though you're not initiated in the holy name, can you feel the benefit? That means Krishna is accepting your chanting. So the spiritual master, he also accepts. How can I not accept, or how can any spiritual master not accept the sincere service which is offered, or the sincere prayers? The spiritual master is offering his help in every respect. Now it's up to us to take that help. Otherwise, he offers his help to everyone, not just initiated underneath. He offers his help, just like the rain cloud pours water everywhere. It pours water on the ocean, it pours water on the land, it pours water on the concrete. So it's described that the spiritual master is like a merciful rain cloud. And his mercies rain down for everyone. But some fortunate people will take that mercy. So the more we take it, then it comes to the point of initiation. And otherwise, he's giving it, and the person takes it, he gets benefited. We should pray to the spiritual master pray to Lord Chaitanya, pray to Krishna. Please remove these stumbling blocks in the path of my devotional service. Oh, you'll certainly get your prayers fulfilled. Prayer has great strength. Of course, don't pray and then go out and do all nonsense. The prayers, in order for the prayers to work, you have to follow the instructions. When you say, should I pray to the spiritual master, that implies that you're willing to follow the instructions of the spiritual master. If you pray to someone and say, but I can't follow your instructions, force me to follow them. God helps those who help themselves. So one has to be willing to help himself also. Another question? Yes, I'll do that. All right.
This morning, all right? Will you stay through Friday?
No, I think now that we will leave. Right? Tomorrow. Tomorrow morning we'll leave by 10 o'clock.
Will you be back tomorrow evening?
No. I have to go on now. So, every one of you has been coming every evening. This proves that despite the difficulty, you can come more than once a week together. Obviously, you may not come every single evening, because that's obvious. But at least you can increase from 1 day to 2 days a week. Sunday and Wednesday night or something of that kind. You'll only get benefited by your mutually coming together. Just like husband and wife are giving each other strength, so 3 couples coming together, 3 families, will give so much strength. And each time you should all think how to bring a new person here on that weekday or Sunday. They have that arrangement, huh, with the Lions Club and the Rotary Club? They all try to bring somebody. Why not? We should do the same thing.
Everyone in our group can make one devotee a year. Our will double every year.
That'd be that's a very good idea. Make that plan. That'd be a very good plan. So, any other questions? No more questions? So we'll serve the feast now? Who's going to serve today? Jim? Serve the feast?
Brad likes to serve.
All right. Brad's mother was a little upset, I heard. I think she'll get over it, huh?
Oh, yes. She just doesn't understand.
I think Brad understands.
He's a good soul.
Excellent.
Where's everybody going to sit? Like this?
The following is an evening lecture with His Divine Grace Tamal Krishna Goswami, recorded in Knoxville, Tennessee, October 24th, 1978.
Om Vishnu Bhagwan Jagadabhadrakacharya Tatara Satashri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananda Gauri Vaishnavin Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Vrinchika Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Daita Gadadhara. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga.
All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Namo Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Pandita Rastapara Sata Sri Srimad Divine Grace Tamal Krishna Goswami Maharaj Ki Maharaj Ki Maharaj Ki.
All glories to the assembled devotees. Everybody is here today. That's nice. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Over the past few days, we've been lecturing from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, text number 1. So, Janmadasya yato nayat itaras chate shabijna sarat Tainhe Brahma Hridaya Adikavahe Muyanti Yat Surdaya Tejavari Medam Yata Vinimayo Yatati Sago Misha Damna Sena Sada Nirashtaku Hakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. O my Lord Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna, because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. So this is as far as we've explained now today. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, just as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. So, sometimes it is seen that water in fire, water in heat, just like on a hot summer day, driving down the turnpike, you see like watery vapor coming off. Or on the opposite way, going in the desert, and you see a mirage of water. No water's there. Or you're on the sea. For years and years on end, you're on the sea, and suddenly, you can close that now. That window. Suddenly, out of nowhere, there's an island. No island actually, but you're wanting to see the island, So we may have some experiences of this, or maybe not, but everyone has certainly heard of a mirage in the desert, and everyone has also heard the experiences of people who go in the sea and suddenly they think that they're seeing land. Well, what is the reason? The reason is due to desire. Why is it that a man who's walking in the desert sees water? Because he's desirous. He wants relief from his difficult situation. But of course, it is an illusion, that oasis in the desert. Sometimes there are oases, but I mean, we're speaking of an illusionary one. So, still the desire is such a thing. One is suffering so much that he wants relief. So, this is the same situation here in this material world. We are suffering so much that we will imagine or wish or desire for so many things in order to relieve ourselves from this suffering. Just like a hungry donkey always has a carrot held in front of him so that he'll go on and on and on. So in the same way, we're inducing ourselves to carry forward in this material world with so many hopes which are never to be realized. Just like this credit gain that Jivananda has been explaining to me. There's another payment to go, huh? And because the whole situation is set up in such a way, the same people, they're advertising in such a way that as soon as you're out of debt to one company, you've already started to want something else, and you immediately go more into debt and more into debt. It's like you were explaining to me, I was asking, what are these Camel lights? I see now all the cigarettes. It's new to me because suddenly I see in the billboards, every cigarette has this light. So Jivananda was explaining that one of his people that he's associated with at work used to smoke 1 pack of cigarettes a day. But now that he's taken up smoking these lights, he smokes 1.5 packs. Because he says he can't get sufficient taste or nicotine content out of the light cigarettes. So this is the same way. Everyone, you think that, well, now I'll get satisfied. But the fact is that the more you engage in sense gratification, the more you want of it. It's like, what is the saying, that pouring ghee on the fire. Pouring ghee on the fire. When you pour ghee on a fire, it only makes the fire blaze more and more and more. You see, if you have the desire for sense gratification, you'll never overcome that desire for sense gratification by feeding it more and more. That's not the system. So, now our position is that we have desired so much sense gratification, and we find ourselves completely absorbed in sense gratification. How to withdraw? Because it is this sense gratification which is causing us to burn in this material world. Burn means we're on fire, suffering within this material world on account of so many desires and the reactions to so many other desires which we've worked on. How do we withdraw out of this situation? Now, this I have tried to explain in the previous few days, that one thing may be to completely stop all of the different types of sense gratification. It's like you were saying, one of our friends here, he lives all the way off by himself. You tried to see him today. This means he's fed up with the material society. But you can see he still has nothing better to replace it with. And then that's a negation. He's negated. This material culture that we're in is horrible, it's unnatural, I want to get away. But still, notice how he has to come down from time to time to see all of his friends, to still get a little involved in this nonsense which he's fed up with. Just like I had experience, that before taking to this Krishna consciousness, I was following a very strict diet. Very strict diet called macrobiotic diet. Perhaps some of you have heard of it. Very strict diet. So I was so strict in following this diet that I would only eat grains which were uncooked and nothing else. Maybe a little bit of water I would drink in a day. Very strict, you see. So, but once every month, you see, I would hitchhike into this town and I would get 20 ice creams. Because I wasn't getting any higher taste. It was simply negation, 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 with no positive alternative. In the same way, this young man has gone away, but still he has to come back here. So this is described to be just like the impersonalists. The impersonalists, or Mayavadis, they say this whole world is false. And they say it is all illusion. And their idea is to become one with everything, merge. But because they have, each person is by nature a servant, and because each of us wants by nature to become blissful, and because we're individual personalities ultimately, this idea of everything being illusory or unreal and dropping out of everything, and even their attempt to merge into Brahman ultimately proves unsatisfactory. For failure to achieve the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, they have to come back again into this material world. In other words, they negate this material world. They say that this material world is false. But because they fail to achieve any real platform, therefore they have to come back into this world. It's one thing to say that this is unreal, this is all illusion. Then what is reality? For failure to achieve any real, tangible, loving reality in the spiritual world, they have to fall back down again. Impersonal realization will never be ultimately satisfying. That's why you'll see many big impersonalists, for many years on end, they perform severe austerities. Then they try to come to the point of Brahman realization. But after a while, they come back and they'll open a hospital. Or worse than that, they'll find some woman and live with her. They do like this, these impersonalists. We've seen in India many cases. Mayavadis, they're called. They have no sika. They shave their head clean without any sika. That's one way of telling them. And instead of wearing a tilak this way, they wear the tilak like this. Perhaps you've seen pictures of them. They're always frowning and looking sour most of the time. So, although they say that this world is false, in the end they become very expert enjoyers of this world. Sometimes some gurus will also act like this. Just like there's one guru, he's always seen with 4 or 5 women riding around in a car. So someone asked him, why do you do this? Because don't you know a sannyasi is supposed to, be very careful about such association. He said, I have transcended that, and this is the proof of it. Now I can do it because actually it's not the proof at all. Because even when someone has transcended it, as an acharya, they act to show the example. They'll continue to act in a very perfect manner. So, this kind of negation is not satisfactory. Sense gratification, if you want to give it up, you have to get some higher taste. And that higher taste can be taken or gotten as much as you want. There's nothing stopping us from becoming in ecstasy about Krishna consciousness except our own selves. Otherwise, it is there to be had. One can make himself fully Krishna conscious in a very, very short time if he takes seriously the process. Instead of engaging in sense gratification, let us engage our senses in Krishna's satisfaction. Let us sow the seeds of Tulsi in the home and worship Tulsi Devi. Let us have kirtan. Let us cook for Krishna and offer everything to Krishna. Let us read and hear about Krishna. Raise our families in Krishna consciousness. Work for Krishna. Give some part of the fruit of one's labor as he's able to towards Krishna. In this way, let us of a big plate of halva, right? Because even though it's very tasty, you want variety. Variety is this mother
enjoyment.
All right, same idea. Variety is the mother enjoyment. Variety is the spice of life. So it's the same thing in devotional service. So we have to make our you have to sit down and work out a program where through a variety of different engagements you can stay in Krishna consciousness all the time. Just like I told one boy in Bloomington, he's a bus driver. So I told him, and he was listening to, his wife had made him tape recordings of, he's a very nice devotee actually. His wife Krishna consciousness. So each one of you has to see how you can introduce. Of course, you don't want to go overboard like Jivananda Prabhu did in his last job. He got so engaged in Krishna consciousness that he forgot about his job. So, of course, that is very good. If one can financially arrange in such a way, there's nothing like doing that. That's our goal, you see. Ultimately, our goal is that we want to be so absorbed in Krishna consciousness that everything becomes looked after and we can engage full-time in preaching work. I mean, just consider this point, that what is the population of Knoxville?
Metropolitan area, 400,000.
Say 400,000. 400,000, and at most, here are 10 people who are Krishna conscious. So 10 into 4,000, what is the percentage? Not 1%.
About quarter of a percent. Quarter of a percent.
1 over 40,000.
1 over 40,000. 1/4 of 1%.
Right.
I don't even know if it's that much.
0.0025.
All right, in any case, it's so small that we can hardly figure it out. It's becoming it's hardly there. So, just imagine how much work. Just like now, you're planning a community that we want to move outside because we don't like this non-devotional association. Oh, that's good, but still better is to make everyone devotees. Then you don't have to move. You see? So, agreed that in order to make someone else Krishna conscious, we have to be Krishna conscious. So that begins with a very strong devotional program. Chanting of rounds. Chanting of rounds should be done in a good way. And chanting rounds while driving, that's not bad. One should go on chanting. But really chanting of the rounds, as far as possible, should be done without any other thing going on. And then you'll get the full benefit of the chanting. Chanting rounds and reading, these things will, having class, I've suggested to Jivanana now that not only on Sunday, you can try and, if it's convenient, pick out one day in the week, in the evenings when you can hold, you see, a meeting, so that at least twice a week you can get together. In other words, gradually you should increase. It may be a little inconvenient, no doubt, but then again, the long run, it will be a great convenience. The more you become Krishna conscious, the more you'll find yourself very much blissful and not disturbed by all the anxieties which formerly used to disturb you. So you have to, actually, if you want to get this higher taste, it is there. It is available to you. You simply have to make out the program. You have to chalk out a program where all the time you can be engaged. You, your wife, your children, gradually you have to see how to engage all of yourselves. Even in the beginning, you may not have the taste so much. Therefore, I suggest varieties of different types of activities. Now, 10 people out of 400,000 is not a very big amount. So, we should understand that not only we should think how to save ourselves, but also how to save others. Each one of you now should really I think that this will give you great enthusiasm. There's nothing more enthusing than to see someone else take to Krishna consciousness. Isn't that a fact, you? Have you all felt that? That when someone shows interest, just like your parents came, And by their interest, you're becoming more enthusiastic. Just like if you bring someone here and they become very interested, there's nothing more enthusing and nothing more, it makes you believe more and more in Krishna. You see? The more you see others, it also, and it requires your deep understanding of Krishna consciousness to convince someone. So, I think now that each one of you should really begin to develop this feeling of wanting to give Krishna consciousness to others. That'll automatically require you to take it for yourself. Because unless you're Krishna conscious, you'll never be able to give Krishna consciousness to someone else. So, why not begin? Just like each of you has employment, you're all working, so start to see the people who you meet and see if there's some way that you can begin to interest them in Krishna consciousness. You'll be surprised, just like that gentleman who came, I think it was your associate, that engineer, very nice man. And was he interested? Must have been to some extent. Has he spoken to you since then?
No.
Is that a bad sign? Or?
He's very quiet.
He is. You can bring him prasadam sometimes, just like your wife, she's cooking very nicely. So sometime you can bring him some cookies which have been offered to Krishna. He has a family? No, he's a single man. So you can bring him some cookies. You can distribute cookies to all the people in the office. See? In this way you can think how to give Krishna consciousness to other people. And you'd be surprised, Krishna will send people to you. He'll start to send people to you. The next time that I come here, this room should be full of people. So not just that there's 10 of you, that I don't mind. If there's one sincere person, that's sufficient. I can speak for many hours and be very happy. But it'll make me still happier, and it'll make everybody here still happy. It'll make Krishna happy if he sees this room full of people, you see, who have been interested in Krishna consciousness. You never know, there may be some great devotees waiting to hear about Krishna in the city of Knoxville. We simply have to distribute this Krishna consciousness and see what Lord Chaitanya has in mind. So, if I want to give Krishna consciousness to others, I have to myself be able to manifest that higher taste. As long as I still have so many unfulfilled desires, then I have the tendency to fall down. So somehow I have to find out what all of my desires are within me and see how they can be purified within Krishna consciousness. There's no use keeping some material desires lurking. But unless I develop a higher taste, these material desires will get the better of me. Therefore, this chanting is very much required. Chanting very sincerely. This purifies the heart of all kinds of dust which is accumulated for long, long years on end. So, illusion is there. Illusory world is there. My belief in this illusory world is there. My belief that simply by arranging a nice house, a nice family, we all had these things, but they weren't making us happy. Everyone sitting here had nice house, nice car, nice family, and still something was missing. So what is that missing element? That missing element is Krishna, and you should understand that when Krishna becomes added, everything becomes wonderful. But without Krishna, it should come to this point, without Krishna you cannot enjoy. A devotee feels like that. If there's no, just like in a conversation, if the conversation is not about Krishna, a devotee loses interest. If the food is not offered to Krishna, he cannot eat it properly. If he's associating with non-devotees, he feels a bit uncomfortable. This should begin to develop within us, you see, so that actually we become more and more eager for Krishna consciousness. The materialists, their illusion. Here it's mentioned that Krishna is such an expert personality that even the great sages and demigods, they sometimes become bewildered. And what is the most bewildering factor? Sex life. Sex life is so bewildering that even big demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, sometimes they become bewildered. What to speak of ordinary people? Therefore, we have to be very careful about this sex life. It is the principal which is binding us here within this material world. Eventually, one should understand that there is pure sex life in the spiritual world. Krishna is manifesting pure sex life with his loving associates, the gopis. But this is a far cry from the sex life of this material world. Now, the same sex desire is manifested within the living entity through this body. Very imperfect manifestation. So, this sex life, it is very much bewildering. One who engages overly in it, he cannot have any ability to become advanced spiritually, because his mind is fixed on all of the basic bodily enjoyments. So we have to be very careful. A man associating with a woman should associate on the basis of serving Krishna. Otherwise, don't arrange your situation in such a way where it facilitates the chance of too much sex life taking over. Illicit sex is very degrading. It's described as one who enjoys illicit sex, he cannot become clean. Cleanliness is part of devotion. Unless one is clean all the time, inside and out, how can he be a devotee? How can he deal with the deity? How can he cook and offer to the deity? But illicit sex makes one immediately become muchi, or unclean. So this principle should be strictly observed, that I limit sex life only to sex life within religious principles. Then it doesn't become illusion. One who understands that the purpose of sex life is for bringing forth nice children in Krishna consciousness, he's glorious. Such a grihasta is like a brahmachari. They're called brahmachari grihastas. Brahmachari grihasta. Grihasta brahmacharis. Because they're only having sex life only for the purpose of procreating children. Therefore, it is just as good. Actually, the statement is given that a husband and wife should only have a child with the permission of the spiritual master. In other words, the marriage should be such a thing that one sees everything as being the mercy of Krishna, as coming through the spiritual master. This is an injunction in the scriptures, that a disciple, he only acts on the order of his spiritual master. So you may say, then where is privacy? But actually, the most private of all feelings is one's love for Krishna. You see? And that love is always developed through the spiritual master. Therefore, the spiritual master comes, and actually, he's the most dear friend one has, because he's not coming with any kind of motive in his heart. Even husband and wife, there's so many different motives, but the guru has no motive. You see, but on account of sex desire, sometimes we find husband and wife is more dear than guru. Of course, that affection develops gradually, but one has to come to the realization ultimately that Krishna is my most dear friend, more dear than anyone else. Such a person who comes to that, then he can keep his family life intact. If he doesn't come to that understanding, eventually family life will not be a binding factor. That is the understanding which can unite the whole world. Why just one family? It can unite the whole world, that Krishna is foremost within our life. So, one has to overcome this illusory representation of this material world and not become affected by it. I should always understand that this material world is changing constantly. The forms that I see outside, just like now, the leaves are falling off the tree. So in the same way, this body is changing. Everything here is in a state of flux. Ashashatam, it's temporary. Therefore, I should not put my faith on these changing objects of this world. Rather, I should put my entire attention into that thing which never changes. And just like Krishna, you never see a picture of Krishna growing old. Will you ever see a picture of Krishna with a long beard? Even on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he was a great-grandfather, but he has no long beard. He's a young youth And Arjuna is shown much older. But Krishna never gets old. He's eternal. So we have to attend to this eternal personality and not invest so much faith.
Krishna Gita Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavangsam Shri Rupam Chakrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Shadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakanitam Shtam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.